Did you just hand me the interview questions?
Huh?
Did you just hand me the interview questions?
I did. What'd you do with it?
It's got it right here. Because I already had a copy.
Oh, did you really?
Unless you changed it.
Well, I didn't, most of the time people
Yeah,
don't put around to making copies of it.
I did, yeah. Just say,
All
well,
right.
just like a really
So save
useful
it for the
list.
next one.
Yeah. Was a really
Well,
good list of
change.
questions.
Joel, excuse me. You might as well know the camera is pointing off into way to the left. Our left, your
Back in
right.
my arms
Yes. I wonder if.
again. So satisfied.
Might be able to-
That's what I had in my real classes.
You were listening to 94.1.
No.
I think it's the camera. Doesn't matter. No, that movie.
That's one way to solve the problem. Nice job.
I would have ran the camera, except that the screen was kind of pointing at the board and not so much for the audience.
Should we turn this up or?
Can you do that?
Yeah.
You- I think it's-
Zach, you're letting your freak flag fly, huh? What do you mean? Nobody else?
Yeah, the hair.
Dude,
Oh, I washed my hair right before I came.
yeah, that's not very freaky.
I brushed it too.
Oh, you
Yeah.
took off.
That's going a little too far.
It feels nice.
You want yours?
So I guess we should,
I hear
Just
another
that it
voice.
feels nice.
Oh. Yeah, I tell you, we're outdated. There was two of us who got it.
so what?
There was two, yeah. Yes. That's your freak flag fly.
Yes? Back in the day?
Yeah. Yeah. I look at- We should put our soundtrack.
Ready? Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see, I need to. Interesting that. Okay. All right, so let's call the call the
Let's
meeting
order-
to
order.
order at 6:03. There is probably a deletion to the agenda, I'm guessing. Do we have anything for 9.9?
I haven't seen anything.
No.
Right, so we'll do that.
Yeah.
Or perhaps till next time. I put it
Yeah.
on because we just.
No,
the
just
last
keep,
meeting
keep it
said
on because someday it'll be there.
Someday, right? But not tonight. Anything
Okay.
else that needs to be adjusted?
No.
Okay, privilege of the floor. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board?
Yes.
Yes, could you come a little closer so the folks can hear you?
That's cool.
Somewhere around here,
Really is
where they
cool.
can see it too.
You can sit
Yeah.
down if you
So you
want.
can
Yeah.
see yourself. yeah.
You know,
Yes.
yes, I will sit. I'll sit right here, just in view. Great. Hello.
Hi.
I believe I've met all of you at one point or another, but for general, yeah. I'm Blake Savoy. I'm recently hired at the town clerk's office. Yes. And
Saw you on Zoom, but if this is.
yes,
in
yeah.
person,
through Zoom. It's good to see you in person.
Yes.
Part of my job has been looking through a bunch of old local files and new local files. Okay.
Get closer. It's a pretty soft.
Is there a microphone?
Got it,
You
got
want
it.
soft.
Okay. So part of my job has been looking through a bunch of local files, and I've come across a couple of like just random things. And I found in local law 1 of 2024, so pretty recent, there's a clause in here. It's the real property law, and I've printed it out and I'll pass it around. Where section 3, the senior and disabled citizen exemptions, there's a clause in here that specifies real property located in the town of Danby, owned by one or more persons, each of whom is over 65 years of age or older, or real property owned by husband and wife, one of whom is 65 years of age or older.
Mhm.
My issue is with the clause or specific wording, husband and wife. Because I think the phrase marital spouses would do just as good in terms of serving the spirit of the
Correct.
law, while also meaning that the letter of the law upholds to, the standards that the country has raised since 2016 with legalization of gay marriage in all 50 states.
Mhm.
So I think that it is, worth a shot to just look at that,
That was one of 24?
yes, yeah, I've got,
Yeah, the language was sort of boilerplate, so it's,
Yeah, it was a boilerplate. We can
Yeah.
change.
but we
can
could,
change
but
it.
we could modify that.
it's something that's so small that is so easy to overlook because,
Yes,
you don't always think about those things, but
right.
all it takes is one person who says, you know what, this shouldn't apply to you for it to suddenly not apply to you. And then
Yep.
that's totally unfair. So, building it into the law in a way that, makes sure that it can't be misinterpreted anywhere down the line is
Yep.
really, I think, an important thing.
So was that the senior exemption law?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okey doke.
So we don't.
Thank you.
We don't need as a group to say, yes, do this.
Well, we're
Well, we
stuck
need
with,
to
Vote on
prepare
it
it. We
later.
need
We'll have
to-
have it in writing and vote on it at
Yeah.
the meeting later, yes.
Yeah, we can vote it
if
out.
we wanted, if we
Vote
think
on
it's
it
important enough,
next meeting.
we could propose a change, which was just, if it's substantive, we'd have to have a public hearing because it would be reenacting the law.
So what are you suggesting?
I'm asking whether
Would that would be adequate?
could we presume it to be not a substantive change and make the
Yes.
change, or do we have to get it, we have to have it reapproved as a,
No.
in order to get to,
Non-substantive
that.
change.
Non-substantive, but I think it should be on the agenda before we do it.
oh, yeah, sure.
So for the next meeting, we can do it next meeting.
The one other question I sort of had in relation to that is, because husband and wife are marital spouse terms,
Yeah,
in New York State, common law marriage is not recognized.
this is true.
However, domestic partnership is a legally recognized status. I'm just wondering also if that would be applicable to this. Domestic partnership is similar to marriage in that it has a lot of the same benefits, but
Mhm.
it is not in itself considered legal marriage. It is a legal status, though,
Right.
granting many of, but not all of the same privileges as, a marital partnership. It's one thing that I've not really looked into all that much, but it's something that I do find of note,
Yeah.
And while I don't think it is going to be an issue at any point in the near or possibly even distant future, it's worth, thinking about.
Could be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Blake, I think
Okay.
that the way to make things happen is to propose language.
All right,
So if you would be willing to make suggestions for how the language could be modified, and then we'll deal with it next time.
absolutely.
We just did.
Well, I could come up with a
Well, yeah, but I mean-
fancy term for it,
Well,
do a
well,
couple more Google searches on the exact phrasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, see if anybody else caught that and fixed it like we didn't.
Yeah, I'll take a look at some other legislations that are similar to this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you.
That's what helps when you're going
Thanks.
through all those laws, line by line.
That's right.
Part of my
Thank
job is just looking at everything and going, okay, that's the same, that's the same.
Yeah.
What's that?
So
Back up.
because we already enacted it, I think it probably was a check with Guy, see whether or not you can change the language after the fact.
I would think you'd have to,
No,
I would think you'd have to open it up if you changed any wording in a local law.
No, I don't think so.
Well, it's not.
Well, that's why I think we ought to check with
It
Guy.
doesn't hurt. We could have a public hearing and change it next meeting. I mean. It's changing the words of a law. I mean,
Yeah, right. So it may require a reenactment, which I'm sure would be non-controversial, but nevertheless, you can't just go back and change things that are already in law.
but can't we just have a public hearing at the beginning of the next, I move that we have a public hearing.
Well, I don't
Beginning of the
see,
next meeting.
I don't see any compulsion to act quickly. Do you?
Yeah, I
No,
would
but-
just wait.
yeah,
So why don't we, at the next
There's a
meeting,
big-
we'll get the
There's a
revised
big
language.
election coming that could affect all kinds of things that we may or may not want to know. And so I think that it is important to think about not delaying some of the things that are threatened.
Well, yeah,
No,
but I
we're
mean,
not delaying it. It's one meeting delayed. It's not delayed a long time.
right.
I'm just.
We have the
I'm
specific
speaking
wording.
My mind.
We have the specific wording next time,
Yeah,
and then we have specific wording next time, and then we can vote to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
The following one.
Sounds
And that would be the first in October. That means it'll be in the newsletter, so people will
yeah,
hear about it. which
we'll
would be
know,
good.
we'll know about it, right? So, we can have the language next time, we'll have something that we can then propose
Right.
and so forth. Um, Anyone else would like to address the board? Rhonda? I'm sure Rhonda's there.
I'm here. I just
Okay.
click the wrong button here. I would like to restate what I emailed to you in an email today concerning Jennings Pond, and I want to do that because I would like it to be recorded for the record. And I think that people who are attending ought to know about this. So I contacted Mary Ann Kozak, and she said that she was required by the health department to keep statistics. And there was a particular sheet that she had to fill out, and she had to turn it into a fellow named Mikhail Kern at the health department. And I contacted him, and he said, yes, he was the person to whom those sheets should be forwarded once they were filled out. And so he had some going back to 2022. There was no Jennings Pond use in 2023. And so I went through the documents that Mary Ann had just given him for the end of the season this year. And here is very quickly, and you might want to write this down if you are listening. There were a total number of days that the Jennings Pond swimming was open this season was 32. The total number of days in which there were 0 attendees was 20 of those 32 days. That means that there were just 12 days in which there were people attending. The total number of attendees throughout the season was 37. That means there's, if you divide that, it's slightly over 1 person for each of the 32 days that the pond was open. So an average of 1 person per day. But since there were no people on 20 days and there were 12, maybe you could figure it also as roughly 3 people per open day, or per day that there was somebody there. What it comes down to when I started figuring this out was that we spent an awful lot of money paying the lifeguard for 20 days in which there were no people there to guard. And that's a whole month. 20 days is 5 days a week for 4 weeks. And he did that and got paid for the whole time. So I'm saying that Jennings Pond is a bad use of taxpayers' dollars. And that if you look back at the 2022 records that the health department has, which are a bit spotty, the number of days open and the number of attendees is similar to this. And you could have done this. You could, as a board, you could have gone back and looked at the records for 2022 and seen that very few people were using the pond, and that there were many days in which there were no people using the pond. And I feel, since we're heading into the budget, that we need to take a really hard look at whether or not we're going to have this program again.
Okay, thanks. You're out of time, Rhonda. That's
okay. I just want to make sure everybody knows I had nothing to do with these records or anything, and so they are what they are. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ted.
Hi. Let's see, I've got 5 items jotted down. And let's see, number 1. Oh, no, I might as well just mention, I thought Blake's observation about the law was very good. And I'm also pleased by your response that needs fixing, but there may be side effects that you have to consider. I think that that whole thing is very nice. And yes, you do have to have a public hearing and pass a law to change a law. In the documents for today, the document about email policy, it's not clear what the changes you're proposing are, but it is clear that section 4 is missing a couple of sections in it, a couple of, minor sections in it, and there are no carriage returns. So the minor section numbering appears right along with, in line with the rest of the text. As to unused items, I certainly hope that whatever policy you come up with will follow the guidelines issued by the state, which make it very clear that you have to try and realize the maximum possible income from getting rid of unused items. And in particular, if that's necessary, that you don't have a better bidder, that you should offer them to the public before giving them away for free or throwing them out. You also have an item of passing the tax cap override, which I was pleased to see. And in general, I am in favor of passing an override law. However, that assumes that you're going to do your damnedest, your best, to keep the budget as low as possible. And with regard to that, there was a long discussion about solar panels during the last board meeting. And I think the point that could not be made strongly enough is that you have to look at the total cost of ownership of those panels. If you have some free money coming from the federal government, using free money to basically lower your annual operating cost by $16,000, you purchase the panels, you don't have to pay for them anymore, your electricity is free for the most part. That is an excellent use of that money. And that would also reduce the budget by so much that you might not need to override the tax cap. And finally, my last point, since Rhonda mentioned the trail, the park, I should tell you that in a discussion with someone else, it's not important because it's a good question anyway. The question of maintaining the trails around Jennings Pond, there are trees down. Who is responsible? This is a question. Who's responsible for trail maintenance? It's part of the park system, but the town pays for the swimming area. If there are trees down and we want the trails used, perhaps we should be looking into that. And with that, thank you very much. I hope you have a good meeting.
Thanks. Gary. Right.
Gary,
Gary has his hand up. Are you there, Gary?
And he's just
Probably
waiting.
muted, just, wait a second.
Is he back in his office?
No,
I don't know.
I don't think so.
All right, he's not doing it.
No, it's not.
Move on.
can you hear me now?
No.
Yes, yes, yes.
I was having trouble unmuting. It wouldn't let me unmute.
Yeah, I figured that was the problem.
Yeah.
I have a question. In reading the proposal for the special event law, it looks like you got about everything covered, except I didn't see anything in there about sanitation and bathroom facility requirements for anything like this. I know the health department is mentioned as far as camping and that stuff, but we've got the fire district covered and the parking and everything else, but I didn't see anything. I don't know if that's a responsibility of the health department or if they've got a system they use. If there's so many people coming, you have to have so many porta johns or something like that. But it's not mentioned in there. I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. Yeah, it's section 4, D.
Of the special event law.
That was the special event law.
Yeah. It's,
All right, the location of sanitary facilities on site, right?
it's mentioned in the law.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Gary's point is that who's what Gary's talked about sanitized, who's responsible for doing it?
We can write our stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, anyone else? Seeing none? Well, let's see, we've got somebody coming at 6:30, right? So the interviews will be sort of interspersed as.
Correspondence?
Yeah.
Is there any?
Yes,
Sorry, didn't mean to skip it.
no worries. I
What
have
do you
a
got?
course. I have a correspondence from Rhonda. The 3 town board members, Joel, Leslie, and Catherine, were at the planning board meeting on August 20th, 2024, where that's Rhonda, stated that there is no deed for that property. This was discounted by the planner, and that for that reason and all the others I mentioned, the subdivision should not be allowed. For the benefit of Pat and Paul, here is the note from the T.G. Miller map. Parcel 3, area 102.519 acres, net to road R/W. Note this area currently assessed and occupied by the Thurnhere deed not found, verified, or provided at time of survey, currently part of tax map number 20-1-22.2. In short, unless a deed is provided, there is no deed for roughly 52% of the entire property. It would be both illegal and irresponsible for the town to allow this subdivision to continue. In addition, if parcel 3 has no deed, the Thurnheres should be required to vacate the parcel. This smacks a lot of Rodney Palmer's use of the town's land in Deputron Hollow. We must establish a policy where the town claims or reclaims all parcels on which a person is occupying the land, squatting, without a deed or without a valid deed. The people of the town of Danby have a right to that land, and the town board is currently denying them that right. The town board has been elected to represent the people of the town of Danby. It has no authority to allow anyone to occupy land without a valid deed. Rhonda Roaring.
Well, for the, as a matter of policy, when we receive correspondence, we characterize it and make it available for the public to read, but we don't typically read it word for word.
My bad, sorry.
no, thanks.
And I will say that Greg did look into this, and perhaps he can report when he by and by what the upshot of that was, but it's not like we ignored the comment by Rhonda. Is there any other correspondence?
Nope.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
You're right. We do have reports. The clerk's report and the code enforcement officer's report, neither of which I got a chance to look at actually, other than to glance briefly. But I expect the usual ring of what
Thank
has
you.
been going on. Thanks, Blake. And I only made it partway through the minutes.
Let me get back to that stuff.
For August 19th.
The August 19th.
Yeah.
I
Did you?
move that, I move that we approve the August 19th meeting minutes as written.
Second.
I was waiting.
Uh-huh. Any
Ready?
discussion?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Connors?
Not ready. Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hunter?
Yes.
Woodworth?
Yes.
Gagnon?
Abstain.
Thank you.
And on to the vouchers.
Warrants?
Did it get modified in light of your tax?
I I assume so, but I don't know.
I took a look at it, Leslie. Yes, I see what you mean. We'll contact Cintas and
Okay,
get that credited back through.
okay,
So it's
So-
a different amount.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I move the general warrant, abstract for vouchers. All these numbers, I'm getting confused, for vouchers 267 through 280. For $10,277.37.
Second.
Discussion. I wondered about the multiple bills for restocking the medicine cabinet.
Oh, there were different times and stuff. That's
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to check it out.
a lot. I mean, it's just a lot.
They do that each time.
And they bill us even if they don't
Technically-
do anything to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that was discussion before, whether if they aren't used, nobody's, you can't decide which thing to leave and which thing to replace. Probably one of those like ocean rules.
Yeah.
mhm.
I mean, it's more.
Can I address the board on that?
Yeah.
I have requested that they that they look at the first aid kit in the town hall at the very minimal, which is once every 6 months. So hopefully that will go down.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of an issue with the highway department when you have a lot of workers who cut themselves or.
Yeah, and you want, if
have
you
safety-
deplete your,
Safety issue.
yeah, if you deplete your supply, then you need to restock. but,
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't get a chance to look and see whether these were, some previous bills that got added, and that's why there's a whole bunch of them all at once, but.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
anything else?
so did we vote it on?
No,
that?
we haven't
We haven't voted on it, we're ready,
Voted?
ready to
I'm
vote
ready
now.
to vote.
Okay, Mariah,
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yeah, yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
yes,
Thank you.
I move the highway fund vouchers 149 through 158 for $26,192.21.
Second.
any discussion?
Yep.
Okay, the vote,
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
yes,
Thank you.
I move the West Danby Water District abstract voucher number 23 for $14.99.
Second.
It hasn't thundered in a long time.
Doesn't matter once it happens.
yeah, any discussion? Okay,
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
yes,
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. People.
and
So,
no Brittany yet.
not yet.
So we'll move on. The Cartman easement is coming together. And it will be up for our consideration shortly. Question is whether or not we want to have the public hearing in conjunction with consideration. We don't have to, but we sometimes done it anyway. So I'm wondering what you think about
I
it.
mean, what do you, I don't understand this.
What it is?
Yeah,
Adam and Carrie Cartman have the property on Troy Road. It's about.
Oh, okay. All right.
80
It helps when we say the one
Gotcha.
we used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Troy Road
All right.
is what we do.
yeah,
Yeah,
More rec-
okay.
80 some odd acres.
Public hearing or not.
Is it 80 some odd?
Oh, I'm getting it confused because
Maybe
it's printed out
68.
the special event. So do we need a
68
public
acres?
hearing?
No, that's the point. We have sometimes had them even though we don't have to. So the question, it was just a question in my mind whether we wanted to, even though we don't have to.
For the easement,
Yeah,
I mean, in the past, it's kind of made it more formal and
yeah, right.
nice for them. I don't,
Well, I mean, Adam's kind of in a, he's anxious to get it completed, which
Right.
is great to have him pushing us on it.
right,
But, so, and it would be more expedient to simply approve it without doing the public hearing, which could happen at the next meeting. It hasn't yet been run by Guy, it's not quite together enough to do it. It's just a matter of filling out some of the details for the associated call them supplements, we call them, call them attachments, either schedules. The baseline documentation is just Schedule B in the
okay,
easement.
so
quite-
you're suggesting we don't need, people aren't interested in the public hearing.
Well, it's not that they're not, it's that, I just raised a question whether or not you think it's sufficiently, whether you think it's worthwhile to have a formal opportunity for the public to comment before we consider adopting an easement.
I think it always is, but if there's an issue where there's a time thing for them.
Well,
I
I
think
mean, the
there
only
is an
time thing
issue
for him,
because they're trying to sell the property.
he is trying to sell the
So,
property.
I
The
think they're
property's on the
building it.
market and he wants the
Right.
easement on it when it's sold, so,
Which is to our benefit.
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
then I think we should just do it.
okay,
Um,
so the answer is no.
And no blowback.
It's been,
I mean, the fact that we're doing it, something that's beneficial to us.
but it's
and
not been done every time and it's not been.
It's not consistently done every
Right.
time. We're
We
not
don't-
making an exception. This is not an exception to what's been done.
Right.
Right, it's not a
Having a
requirement.
hearing is an exception.
Oh, okay.
Well, I
Great.
don't know, I've probably
No.
done more often than not.
We've had more.
Mhm.
Yeah, most of them have had public hearings.
There has been plenty of opportunity for people to hear about it because
We've been reporting about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty neat thing, but
yes, it is.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Craig, you have anything to say about it?
Still not Brittany.
No? Okay.
So Craig, we're at the special event law discussion item.
well, if Brittany comes.
If you
Yeah,
come,
yeah.
we'll.
Yeah. So, does everyone have a copy of this?
I left mine, all of that home.
I
I have.
Okay.
I don't have it in,
But I
Why don't I print out a couple copies then for, unless you
I
can
can
pull
look
it up
at
on
it
the
on the
computer?
line.
Do you have your copy?
I'm on it.
Okay, Mariah's gonna print out a couple copies.
Mariah's
Just
on it.
while Mariah's doing that, so we looked at this a few months ago, I think before summer, really.
Yes, it's been a while.
rough. So what I ran it by a guy and he had some pretty minor comments on it, but the biggest comment was just that the way the law was initially described and somebody applying for a special event, it gave the planner a lot of discretionary authority, and he felt like that was maybe more for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Mhm.
So either you make the permit application kind of like a black and white, do you meet this, yes or no? Then I could review and approve it.
Right.
Otherwise, if you do want a little bit of opportunity to look at an event a little bit more, maybe on a case-by-case basis, and having the Board of Zoning Appeals have a little bit more discretion, it makes more sense. And so I just felt like rather than go through and rewrite everything to make it black and white that the planner or zoning officer could approve, just swap out the zoning officer with Board of Zoning Appeals, and he gave it his blessings. And it makes sense too. It's when we're viewing a lot of just a lot of the ins and outs of what a special event might have and the
Making an
application.
overall judgment and
Yeah,
satisfaction.
yeah, exactly. That's the word. It's really making a judgment about it. It's more for putting in the hands of an appeals board, essentially.
Right.
So that was the main change to it. There were some other minor ones, just making sure that events that are, related to governmental, religious and school functions are exempt. You know, and they were, it was alluded to that in the description, so I just made it very clear about that. And then the other thing was just adding in, he felt that the penalties for offenses was weak. So I said, well, what do you suggest? And he just copied and pasted from what he had written for some other laws. And of course, they're detailed but I just put them in there and so that's the sum up of the changes. If this looks okay to the town board, what would happen next is we would have to take this through environmental quality review.
What's the review?
Well, I was trying, it's not an exempt,
I'm not sure what this too.
it doesn't fall under exempt in terms of seekers, so it would be at minimum an unlisted action. So we'll have to,
So what does environmental quality review look like though for?
well, I'll have to figure that out and get creative.
Yeah.
But basically, we'll have to go through environmental, you know, the direction was you really, you probably shouldn't call it exempt. It's going to be, it's some, you're looking at some future potential land use on somebody's property that might have significant environmental impact. Yeah, so just looking at that.
An erosion issue that affects the streams, I mean, that would be one. It's just
But this is,
thing.
yeah, right. I mean, we're enabling what's currently a not allowed use to happen if we pass this.
And.
Right, yeah, that's a good way to put it. I was thinking about it then.
And that makes more sense, because I was gonna say Board of Zoning Appeals, that's adjudicating you know, a not allowed use, you know, like if
Right.
you wanna go a house 2 inch higher, or you wanna
Yeah, right.
have a triplex instead of a duplex, all that stuff goes to the Board of Appeals.
Yeah,
But just assuming, you know, just by I mean, if you're just yes or no, their application meets the requirements and whether they get to do it or not, then it wouldn't be the Board of Appeals.
right.
So
But
now
that's-
that's a
that's what I said.
non-allowed thing. Then it could go to the Board of Appeals.
So the process would be to go to prepare the part one, have the board review it, go through seeker, and then plan for a public hearing. So we could do this all by the end of the year. So I
Yeah.
can just kind of, we'll just plot our steps.
Right. Would it make sense to declare ourselves lead agency
Sure.
right now?
Probably could. I'm trying to think if there's any other reason why there would be another agency that would
Be interested in this at
want to-
all?
Interested. When it's unlisted, it can be an uncoordinated review. So I don't see a reason why not. Yeah.
So I move that we declare ourselves to be lead agency in the post enactment of this law.
For the purpose of environmental.
Yeah.
to
For
determine
environmental review, right?
environmental review.
I'll second that.
Anybody think somebody else should be doing it? And so who?
There is no one. I mean, unless you do the planning board.
BZ.
Well, we're not one of us. I mean, no outside group, I can't imagine would be interested in
Yeah.
doing it.
When you say it that way,
Well, the BZA.
the CAC has been saying they want to have some be
Part of the process.
part of the process
Yeah.
that might, if it's environmental, then that paper that we were trying to work on.
Yeah,
So I mean, but
This is not
but this is,
really environment.
well, I mean,
that's what.
Follow the
that's what's
rules.
yes, right, but I mean, but,
Review.
right, but I mean, it would be kind of peculiar to have the CAC be
Yeah,
the
I-
lead agency for environmental review of the law when they're not the ones going to be passing it.
Right.
Right.
Who
it's
traditionally
not.
does the seekers?
Well, it depends who's the approving
The lead
agency.
agent.
Usually the approving agency.
And we are the approving agencies, so.
So there you go.
If
Do
it
we
was
need
a,
to vote?
Now,
It-
we could, I mean, we didn't put it in, but I mean, the environmental stuff is pretty much included in the laundry list of things to take into account when considering approval. It could have gone to, I mean, you had the CAC be the approving, agency rather than the BZA, but
yeah, but, well, it makes, well, no, I
That
think we
does
just
sound
keep it as
logical.
BZA.
Do we have to make a motion that we become the?
we just
made a
did,
motion.
the motion on the
Yeah,
floor.
so-
We can vote on it.
We
Yeah,
could,
we didn't
yeah.
vote yet.
It's just a discussion, it's just a
Right.
discussion.
This is discussion about whether it all makes sense or not. And I think we're in agreement, so everybody ready to vote?
Yep.
Pat sure is, yep. Okay, Mariah, could you, call the vote?
I'm sorry, I have a question. Is it to be the lead agency or to be the approving
Yes.
agency? The lead
We are
agency?
We are the approval agency, but it's to be the lead agency in environmental review.
Thank you. Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes,
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
So as far as the timing goes, still need to figure out how to do part one.
Yeah, I'll probably have that ready to go for, say, at least by the first meeting in October. And then we could probably schedule a public hearing for adoption in November.
Good.
Something,
Yeah.
that sounds like a decent timeline. Okay. Any questions on this draft? Maybe some of you just got it, but
Well, we've reviewed it before, I mean, every year
Yeah.
online, and
Yeah.
I didn't see any problem with the modifications and it already reflected what we wanted in terms of the scope.
yeah, and then, and just to go back to Gary's question about the sanitary facilities, so they're
Oh, but-
in section 4. That's on page 3.
Yep.
It's all the way at the end of the list. As part of the special event permit application. So every application for a special event permit shall be accompanied by the following. A parking event plan that includes the following, and then the very last item on the list is the location of sanitary facilities. In terms of if those are satisfactory enough, yes, that should be something that would be run by the Tompkins County Whole Health Department.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you mean add something into this that says that, or?
No, I mean, I think Greg's
No.
the implication is that this is already inclusive enough that they would
Right.
have to satisfy the health department.
Yeah,
to
if
do
you're
it.
applying for a special event, you'd have to show me where your sanitation facilities would be, and then I in turn would probably, doing my due diligence, pass that over to the
Right,
county
and
health
it doesn't
department.
say that we have to pass it along and ask.
It's,
But that's just a quibble, but
yeah,
we could, one of us could say, well, I think one porta potty's fine, and I don't think we need to review it. And somebody else could say, well, I think it needs to have 10. But,
Why not add the line in
I
there?
mean,
That it will be passed on for Thomas County for approval. Health Department for approval.
Or you could say the location of sanitary facilities satisfactory too.
yeah,
Actually, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that would
Instead of
be
making-
part of the do. I don't wanna think we should just think of that as the only thing that should go to the health department.
Well, there's two other stuff, but where else would the health department be involved?
food business that has.
yeah, they would be involved in all the,
Location of exits, fire extinguishers, first aid stations.
Yeah, I mean-
Everything.
when.
Well, I
You know,
remember,
I'm thinking about like site plan applications or subdivision applications. The question always comes up, have you gotten health department approval for your well and septic?
right,
And often people will produce a permit to have those in, so it's not something that might not be explicitly stated that
Ah.
that agency needs to review and approve them, but it's just implied that they oversee sanitation and water availability.
but
There is
don't assume too much, because when the precipitating event took place, I called the health department to ask what their oversight would be, and unless it was a gathering exceeding,
250.
No, it was.
More like
it was
1,000.
3 to 5, I thought. it
yeah, I think it was
It
like
was
three
some
thousand.
crazy number.
They're not, they're not involved in the permitting.
Oh, okay. Because I just recently heard the number of 250, that if you have a event of 250 or more, you have to provide a porta potty.
Where's that?
That was just another project that, in my hometown I'm working on,
Yeah, So where's that?
People have
Because I've
to-
never seen that.
so it's,
See the line for that 145.
yeah, right. I think this is one of those things that they're required to show sanitary facilities on site. They're required to show all these extra things like
Yeah,
the location of fire extinguishers, think about that one, location of fire extinguishers and other fire safety equipment. I have no idea what is enough with what's adequate, but I would go to Steve, or I'd go to the fire department, have them look at it, first aid station. I talked to an EMS about that maybe, or, so a lot of these things I might just use my own resources and just
yeah.
check on these, and then
And then the BZA.
the BZA
as
would
the
also
permitting
ask,
agency
yeah, the
would-
BZA would then ask me, and they'd ask the applicant of, do you have approvals for these other things? So,
Because well, they have to judge the adequacy of what's being proposed.
Right.
It's a little loosey-goosey, that's why you have an approving agency as opposed to having it be ministerial.
right, exactly. It takes the judgment out of just an administrator's hands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It shouldn't be on your shoulders all the
Right.
time.
And this might be a very rare thing.
So things bounce around a bit. You're taking the judgment out of your hands, putting it in the health department's hands?
no, BZA's hands.
The Board of Zoning Appeals.
Oh,
Or BZA, not the. town.
right. See, I'm not sure that they would necessarily ask those questions. That's the point. Like health department questions, right? I mean, when you do a building permit, you get an approval from the health department. You get that approval.
Right, but it
before you
doesn't
build
say that
BZA
in the
would just make
law.
sure that stuff happens and they
Yeah.
Right, but you're.
won't necessarily be the ones asking.
Yeah, but all of what I'm getting at is the reason why I'm pushing back to saying that we don't need to add that in is that our others, like the zoning law, the subdivision law, they don't necessarily call out every agency that needs to review something, but we
Right.
might just know that from a development standpoint that you have to get those approvals in order to make things
Yeah, I
whole.
think you're asking too much of that. I mean, the big difference is between Steve, who handles building permits all the time, knows enough to go through the list and checks those things. We're talking about the zoning board of appeals, which is looking for a very specific alteration in what they would otherwise be approved, and they're looking at that one little twist. They don't necessarily know what a certain amount of fire extinguishers are gonna be, and a certain number of porta potties are gonna be needed for 5,000 people, or
Right, so
they're not necessarily.
what I'm saying is that before I would take it to the Board of Zoning Appeals, I would want to do my own due diligence and run it by these different agencies to make sure that it meets their
And I think
specifications.
you do a bang up job, but it's not in the law.
Right.
I still wouldn't put it in the law,
Really?
yeah.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the Board of Zoning Appeals has to ask the question, is this application for a special event adequately provided for?
And then they would say, prove it. And that's where, I mean, it's on the applicant's hand to prove that they are meeting all the
Well
other
prepared.
agency, yeah.
I'm just waiting, look, you're great. I trust you entirely. I'm thinking about the next guy behind you that maybe isn't as well, as takes his job as seriously.
But then more is on the BZA shoulders, because, to the extent that it hasn't been
Again, I
vetted
don't
ahead of
put it on
time, they're
BZA
gonna say, well, what about this? I don't see where you made an, but how do I know that what you're proposing here is adequate for whatever?
I think you're all bypassing the question I'm asking. If you put it in black and white, that they also have to have a piece of paper that says they've been approved for this number of people and this number of porta potties, that's part of the application. Boom.
But you're limiting it to porta potties, and my concern is.
And I'm not
a lot
just-
more than that. But that what you said is porta potties.
I
There's a
did.
whole lot of stuff there.
Yeah. I mean, we should put everything we can think of in there. Fire extinguishers, food, I don't know who would.
I mean, I never would have thought of having a fire extinguisher gathering, like the party that they had.
Right. I mean, that's the point.
Yeah.
Gotta make it.
The list is already pretty, things to think about when deciding whether or not it's it's adequately provided.
Well, I understand the point is that we can't necessarily list every single thing that might be considered in putting an event like this together. But we should try to put everything in there that,
We can anticipate.
yeah,
Well, that's what he's done.
except he's not asking for health department approval.
But I would.
But I don't know.
I know that,
I know,
but I'm
but
not thinking about you,
Yeah,
thinking
but
about other.
I think we're creating, I think this is creating a little bit more of a, it might be getting, it might. The bases are covered in here. I'm confident in that.
I'm gonna come find you.
And we
I mean,
can't put in a
perhaps
law that
this
says
will
they
be
get
a
they get
checklist
something from
of
the, we can't put in a
things
law
that
that
need
they
to
get
be
something from the agency.
So-
Unless we check with them and make sure they have that procedure and process, but we can ask.
And that's a good point, and here's we're missing from this whole thing. This is just the law, the mechanism.
Right.
There's gonna be a whole application to this.
Right.
Yeah.
That I'm going to come up with. I certainly can run it by the town board, but that's, and maybe to just approve it. As part of the application, we can work together, and I'll come to you. You and I are gonna work hand.
I'll put it on the list.
And then we'll make sure of, do you have health department approval? Yes, no. Do you have fire department, do you have?
Right.
And we can just have it there. We can have even sign offs.
And we're gonna miss something. And,
Well,
just
That's the
saying,
problem.
we're gonna miss something.
But that's a
We'll-
law.
we'll-
We learn and we'll put it on the list.
Yeah.
It gets into this.
Mistakes.
Capture that in the application, that there's certain agencies approvals or okays. If they can't give approval, they're just at least reviewing it and
Yeah.
not flagging anything. I would certainly, if there was an actual special event of say 1,000 people or some festival that was happening, I would go to every agency I could think of, DEC even at the state level, just making sure that it just was okay under their.
Okay, this isn't personal, Again, I'm looking at this next guy after you, that's not half as smart as you.
And in that case, it's our problem. We're hiring somebody.
I know, really, that's exactly.
our
what I'm saying.
problem.
We're gonna mess up.
Let's work on the application part of it.
Yeah,
The
let's do
application
that.
where you really
I'm
take
letting
it.
you go.
That'll work. That'll
Okay.
take
I
care of
can't do
all
it.
your concerns.
I give up.
Well, considering that where we're coming from, which is, things happening with absolutely no guidance or
Right,
which weren't supposed to happen at all, but because then when somebody went ahead and did it anyway, it's like, well, what about this and what about that and what about that, and having to basically work it out and on the fly.
by the way, did we up the penalties on it
You mean for this one?
for the special event? If they go ahead and-
The guy's recommendation is more than you had in the previous draft.
Went up.
Penalties.
It did go up, good, it's gotta go up, they really gotta get socked.
Let's see, guilty. of-
No, really, are they gonna, there's no
Not
reason.
more than 500 nor less than 200. And then,
For the first event, but then, and then in
it's a
each
daily-
day is a thing. and-
yeah. Each week can be charged a separate violation. It goes, there's quite a bit of like, it's in that section,
Which section is
9.
that? Section 9,
Right.
penalties, right?
It's pretty long,
Right.
yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, it'd be a violation and penalties, fines associated with violation. But right, so each week that it's in, non-compliance, they could add up.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, an event really lasts more than 2 or 3 days.
No, it's not whether the event does, it's
There's
whether,
impacts from the event.
yeah.
It would be nice to move away from a slap on the wrist to something that matters.
Instead of just the cost of one ticket, you mean, yeah.
Mhm.
It's some big rock star, like, how much does it cost to go to a Taylor Swift thing?
Yeah, right.
3,500 or?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
It's a, I don't
It's a
know, I
lot,
mean,
yeah.
I've heard it in the news,
yeah,
it's a lot.
Probably never come home.
yeah, probably not having a Taylor Swift
Years
concert.
ago.
in Taylor.
Planning for it, tell you.
Well, while we're on the subject, perhaps you could brief the board on what happened with the prosecution of the case.
Yeah, so
Did we vote on the lead agency thing?
Uh,
I don't think we did. I think I got.
as-
okay.
well,
Yes.
We
Yes,
did.
we
We
did.
did?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we did.
Right,
yeah, so Mr. Peters was charged and he pled guilty to violating the zoning law. And I don't know, that's beyond the scope of the zoning law to collect fines, is beyond the zoning, so I don't know if there are a lot of people get tickets and then they don't pay them. So I don't know what the mechanism to collect those is, and how. Can we ask him, right? You guys curious? I don't know, Gary would know. Gary's right there. He might not know about if a specific ticket got paid, because I don't think Gary collects actual fines.
But he gives the fine. He says how much it is payable within number of days. Hey, can I ask him?
he's here and he's unmuted himself.
I'm here. This is about the last year's party, correct?
Yes,
And it's like Greg said, he did plead guilty to a violation. He was issued a fine. I can't remember right now what it was. And normally, the normal procedure is, at least in vehicle and traffic or any criminals or small claims, they have 30 days to pay. And you know, there are, Teresa could chime in too, probably, but there are procedures set up where, you know, we can scoff their license or anything like that. Now, with the town a law violation, you know, they send it in, the court does not collect the fine. They don't go out and force them to pay it, but the payment does come to the court, and then we'll turn it in with our monthly report to the town. But other than that, there's not a whole lot more we can do.
to whom do they pay it, Gary?
They would pay the court, and then in our monthly report, it would go into the check that I send to you, Joel, and it goes to the state. Well, I believe the town keeps their money. I'm not sure if they send how it works as far as Laura goes. Maybe Laura can tell. If I send it a check with the my monthly report, there's going to be the town. If he pays that, there's going to be the $100 check, and along with other vehicle and traffic fines or any DWI fines or anything like that. I don't know, Laura, maybe you can help with that. Do you send in everything to the state and then they reimburse the town back? I'm not sure how that end works.
What happens is that you give the supervisor the checks.
Right.
You and Teresa give him a check for everything you've collected that month. We go ahead and we deposit it into our account, and then the monthly report that you send into the state, they get that and then they send us a bill. And so
Okay.
we end up paying through our abstract, the bill to the state.
It must be similar to like a dog violation, Gary, right? I mean, we collect the fine, it goes on our monthly report. The money goes to Laura. And then what Laura's saying, the state, I mean, it must take a long time though, huh, Laura?
You know, they're pretty good. They're pretty good about it, but yeah, they can get a couple of months behind in the billing. So in other words, they're going to get your paperwork that you're going to send into them, and they're going to go through, and they have to go through it and figure out what their portion of that is, and then send us a bill.
I'd be
Oh,
interested.
yeah, they can get a couple of months behind on that, yes.
Yeah, because if I understand correctly, there are actually some vehicle and traffic violations that the town gets the full amount, right? I mean, you only get a portion of what we collect, and that mandatory surcharge, you know, that $93 for every ticket, apparently goes right to the state for roads, like to fix the roads. So I don't know.
Not part of
It would be interesting for me to do a little spreadsheet though. For,
Yeah.
taking maybe 12 months and saying, this is what you gave us. This is what you sent in, you send in that same amount, and then how much did
Right.
we pay them to see how much we're really retaining
Yeah,
for certain violations, for certain things, like you
that would
say.
be very,
some of
that would
them-
be interesting.
And
But
it would be interesting to look to make sure that it's being figured correctly.
right.
State when they're sending this.
I believe the system we have set up right now, since the new bail process went into effect, is depending on what the requirement is for the district attorney's office. Of course, before any fine is assessed, any reduction, it has to be approved by the district attorney's office, the violator, and the judge. And any I believe, I'm not sure about this either, Teresa, maybe you know, but on a speeding charge, it'd be an 11, would be a 1080, I believe. And normally I think the town only gets like 25% of that fine, but with a reduction where it goes down to a non-speeding charge, which would be a 1210A, which is basically opening a door unsafely on a highway, that full amount of the fine, I believe, goes back to the town, whereas only a portion of the speeding charge comes back to the town.
But in
I
this
think that's
instance,
the
we're
way it
not dealing with
works.
that kind of a situation. We're dealing with straightforward. It's a town law that's being violated and money comes to the town.
The question was it paid?
Yeah, the question is, was it paid?
The answer for that so far, nobody. don't have
Oh,
that yet.
well, we can't, there's no way that we can force them to pay it. We can't suspend their license. I mean, there's nothing we can do. That
The
money,
question is,
Was it?
the question is, was it paid? Not have they, not,
well, you would know by our monthly report.
well, yeah.
It has names of who paid?
Yes.
Oh, it does.
Cool.
You don't remember whether it's on it or not?
He didn't remember what it was. He said he didn't remember
The
the amount.
amount, but whether it was paid is the question. Or whatever the amount was that was levied.
He said it would be on the report.
I don't think we're gonna get that answer sitting here right
No,
now.
That-
so
So
you can
it
look at
sounds
the
like a
report.
request that you could make.
It
as
wasn't-
the supervisor.
It wasn't, I think it was a range that he was given. And it was gonna be set by the judge, but I wanna say the range was a minimum of 150 to maybe 2 something or 300, you know, but it was a
You know, the
range.
most it could have been was 350 because that's what was in the law.
Yes, it wasn't that, so.
Up to.
So Greg signaled to me in his way that he thought it was $200. And I'm gonna go home with that answer.
Yeah, it was between 150 and 2 something.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's whatever
And the
the
question, of course,
judge,
is, did he actually pay it?
right.
And if he didn't, then what?
Oh,
That's not part
they
of
could
this
find out
law.
if he did or not.
Yeah.
You can
No.
tell from the
Well, no, but
reports that are
but,
submitted.
you know, the same thing would apply. If, you know, using this law, if we permitted an activity, somebody had a violation, if they were cited and so forth. We'd go through the same procedure. Somebody would be, you know, told you need to pay us $250 or $500 or whatever it ends up being. And what happens if they don't pay it?
Well, it's the same problem with all fines. I mean, that's why this is not an unheard of problem. It's constant. It's people don't pay their speeding tickets. They get cited again.
Well, no, if they don't
park-
pay their speeding ticket, we can suspend their license, you see.
Right.
If they
Okay.
don't pay a town law fine, there's nothing that Gary or I can do. We can't suspend their license. We can't put them in jail. There's nothing we can do. It'll just sit there.
I mean, we have that case right now with any dog violations.
Right.
We've got a drawer full of them where, you know, they plead guilty, we assess a $50 fine or whatever. If they don't pay it, they're just sitting in the drawer. And all towns are the same way. I mean, they just have drawerfuls of non-payments. Like Teresa said, if it's a speeding violation or anything like that, we can suspend a license. If they don't show up, or if we fine them and they don't pay the fine, we can suspend their license. And then once you do that, then they come up front and they pay pretty quick then. But, you know, on town law, there's nothing we can do.
It kind of makes you wonder what good the law is. You can't make it, you know, you say, you have to, it's $1,000. It's
Well,
I'm not
we
paying
can
it.
find out. what
Isn't that true? Something like you can go to the county and there's a process with the county to collect the fine, but it sounds like it's.
You put a lien on it. You can put
Put a lien on it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's almost like it's not worth the effort because it's just such minimal fines or.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like in a small claims. If the person doesn't pay within so many days, they can come in and ask us for a transcript of judgment. They bring it down to the county clerk's office. It gets filed. And if that person ever tries to buy a house, a car, you know, anything that requires them to have their, you know, get like a credit report, they would find that they had a lien, that the town had a lien on them for that. Well, no, it wouldn't be the town that had the lien. It would be the person who won the small claims. So in saying that out loud, maybe that's what happens. Maybe the town has to get a transcript of judgment and go down to the county clerk and file a lien on them. I don't really know if that's the answer, but in saying it out loud, it almost kind of makes sense to me now.
Yeah, but that's what I was wondering.
Well, we can figure that out.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, there has to be a way to otherwise, you know, if the word gets out that, yeah, we got a new law, but if you ignore it, it's no big deal. Because, you know, if they may fine you, but you don't have to pay the fine, you know, that's not very,
Jesus, I got.
not very helpful. Yeah.
Oh, understand.
Okay, so,
No, I don't want
it'd be good to know that, but.
Yeah. Any other questions on this?
I think
Thank
we're,
you for the work.
yeah,
Okay,
so
then I
we're
will-
good to go. as far
I'll
as-
plan for, to have some of the environmental review paperwork for the first meeting of October. Plan for that, yes.
I'll just say that I think the fines should be higher. Just because you see where it goes, that's why it has to be higher.
Yeah,
It's an up to,
I mean, start at 1,000 and go up.
right now, it's at least 200.
I think it's 400. But it should be 1,000.
Well, I mean, we could, if we want to make it that, we could do it. You know, the number that put in, it was like, Guy's suggestion.
Yeah.
well, we can look at that one. Okay, we're gonna
Well,
visit this next
Right
meeting.
now, we're trying to move to that, past that,
Yeah.
though. So if there is, if you want to do it, are you saying now's the time? we
that's
should-
what I'm saying, yes. If we're going to have
I moved that we move the fine up to $1,000 to $1,500. Right?
where the minimum is 1,000?
The minimum is 1,000. I mean, we're not gonna run into this all the time.
No, it's
Just that one
infrequent event.
Character, and, I mean, they're thinking about making a lot of money, so you gotta have
Typically.
something that has a little oomph to behind it. So
So not more than. What was the number?
I said 1,000
1500.
to 15,
Wait, no, you didn't say not more than 1,000. You said. start with
more
1,000.
than,
Fine up to 1,500.
okay,
It's a proposed building up to $1,500, but with a minimum of 1,000.
Right.
Is that right?
Okay.
minimum 1,000 up to 1,500.
How's everybody else feel about that?
I need a second.
My one,
Second,
You
okay.
got a second?
Yeah, we got.
My one reservation is that if it would, it might make a judge reluctant to impose the fine at all if they thought it was too high.
If somebody pleads guilty, he has to sign a fine.
This is true, yeah. So others feel okay with the, you may recall that when we had the original law that people were appalled that we would actually have a meaningful fine for doing something like that.
Which way do you?
I mean, this is a huge event. It's not like
Right.
a birthday party or a
Right,
wedding.
exactly.
You know,
We're talking
an
about
event
the,
that a lot of people in town actually do and can do.
right,
This is a different issue.
Right.
So that's for the first offense, but between 1,000 and 1,500,
You
what's
bet.
for the second offense?
Nope, right off the bat.
No, he's asking
What
you.
about if they
Yeah,
do it
first
again?
offense. Oh, second offense?
what
So
happens
what
after
are
that?
what are the ranges of the second offense?
What was
They're
it
gonna do
before?
it again?
Never took it.
The range for the first offense was between
Then double it.
200 and 500. The range for the second offense was between 400 and
Again,
1,000,
yeah,
so
so do
double
the
it.
same thing, double it, and then triple it. You got a
So
third offense.
between 2 and 25?
But 2 and
3,000.
2 and 3,000, and then the third time would be 3.
Well, there's no third time,
They just get kicked out of town.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're running around on railway.
All right, there might be, I mean, I might have to, I don't know if there is, maybe the judges would know this, but if, I'm wondering if Guy put those numbers in there because that's the limit that you can go on a because these are violations, these are not misdemeanors.
True. I doubt it.
I doubt it. You can ask him,
Yeah.
ask him.
Yeah.
So the first time was what, 1,015?
1,000 to 1,500,
Yeah.
and then 2,000 to 3,000.
Mhm. So that's what we will put in unless Guy says for some reason not to.
That sounds fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the proposal made and seconded. We ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, Mariah?
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. And you'll check. All right. We generally pass a local lot override tax cap. Give us flexibility to do so, because you have to do it in order to exceed. And this is going to be a very difficult year to stay under.
I move that we go ahead,
Go ahead.
yeah.
And it's-
I'll second that.
Okay,
Whatever. it's called.
any discussion?
Okay, good.
override the tax cap.
All right.
Override.
Okay.
I think it takes a local law to do it, so we'll have to work it up and then
Right.
schedule the public hearing for it, but of course, let's do it.
Yep.
Could we probably could, because boilerplate, we could go ahead and schedule the public hearing for the tax cap override.
Yeah, the next meeting.
Do we have time to get the public notice out for it?
How many weeks is it?
Normally we would, but we moved the meeting up.
Well, yeah, but the other one's still 2 weeks later. We went to the 9th, but we
Still
also
2
bumped the other one to, it's still 2 weeks later. So it's, so we got 2 weeks basically between
Right.
now and then.
Yes, Mariah.
And you need 5 days, I think, notice?
I think you need 2 weeks. Because we have
Oh,
to
we
get
got
it,
2
we have to
weeks.
get it published. We're
Right.
cutting it pretty close. We might be able
Tight,
to do
that's
it.
right. Well,
There's
it's,
1 week,
it's
there's
no,
only 1 week between the next meeting and the following meeting. Instead of having 2 weeks, scheduled 3 weeks away. And then
why
that's
don't
not an
we,
issue.
why don't we do it for the first meeting in October, right?
Okay.
Which
Is that
the
enough
7th.
time? Is that,
That'd work for me.
That's 2 weeks from now.
Laura, with
It's
that
2 weeks,
for
actually.
the budgeting?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's 2 weeks then too, but it'd be 4 weeks from now. So,
The first meeting in October?
yeah, it's on the 7th.
Okay.
So, I move we schedule the public hearing for consideration of this local law to override the tax cap for the 6 o'clock
I
on
think we
the,
didn't vote on
14th of
whether to do
October.
it in the first place yet.
didn't we?
No.
No.
Okay, you get that out of the way. Oh, that would, there was a motion for
Yep.
that, right? So there was
Yeah,
already a
right,
motion for
and
that.
then pass, I mean, let's just.
Yeah, okay, let's do it in two steps. Go, let's hold the first vote.
Okay, Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
move that we schedule a public hearing for the local law to override the tax cap for the 7th of October at 6 p.m.
I can second that.
Any discussion? Okay, the vote.
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right, so then, we're getting into the budget. There's some, I thought before we get into the specifics of the tentative budget, which won't be until October, there's some overriding things that perhaps should precede, so we sort of know where we stand financially. And Laura has produced a couple of reports. The where we are in the scheme of things report gives us an overview of the budget as we are currently expending it. And there's some transfers that need to happen in order to cope with the being underfunded in some lines. And there's a resolution specific to that. I was interested in knowing, where we stood with the fund balance. And Laura has also produced a fund balance analysis, which shows us where we were at the end of last year. That doesn't really tell us. We have to project at the end of this year to know where we would stand with respect to the fund balance at the end of last year. So we were in pretty good shape at the end of last year. What's not reflected in the fund balance analysis is, when we put the budget together, we always appropriate from the fund balance some money in order to determine how much we raise in taxes. So we have a total budget. We can raise it. We can use some of the fund balance to reduce the amount to be raised in taxes. We don't have to. We can use, or we can use a little bit or a lot. We used some last year. And as Laura explained it to me, that's the last we ever see of those numbers, because it's not subtracted from fund balance. It just it just reduces the amount that you raise in taxes. So how it plays out depends on how it goes over the course of the whole year. So we really won't know where we're going to end up until we project to the end of the year what our expenses and our, we know what the income is pretty much. It's really imponderable if we don't know for the mortgage tax what the second half is going to be, because you paid out in two chunks. But we already got the tax revenue, we know what that is. It's just not, because we, the town of Danby, don't use the sales tax in our budget calculations. We apply against the county tax. The only revenue sources we have are property tax and the mortgage tax. So, so you have the information from Laura. Does anybody have any questions?
Can I say something?
Sure.
When I put this together, I just wanted to give you guys an idea. I know you like to look back. And so when I put this together, for the fund balance and the tax cap, I went back, now, just a second here, where's my tax cap? Here it is. In the tax cap, for the tax cap, it's kind of interesting to look back through. And see how many times we stayed under the tax cap in the last 10 years. and how many times we went over the tax cap. The years that we went over the tax cap, we went over by, a chunk. But then the other years, the board was really good at trying to keep it under as much as possible. But just because we might, and then if we look at our fund balances too, and we're taking a look, you might find that some of those years that we used, as Joel was talking about, that we used some money to balance our budget in that the 599 account when you're looking at it on your reports. And it is, there are times when we might say, okay, let's use 30,000 to balance the budget in highway. But yet we added to the fund balance $40,000. And so if we look here, if you want to see how things went in 2023, for instance, you had an increase in the fund balance in the general fund of around $48,000. So that means if you take the amount of money you brought in minus the amount you spent, that is an amount that added to the fund balance last year in the general fund. Although we used, I can't remember exactly what it was, $25,000 or $30,000 for what Joel was talking about in that 599 account, in that amount to balance the budget so that we could control what was being put forth for the taxes. So the figures, it's really worth looking at them. I don't think that there's any way really to say totally project from year to year what you're going to have. You can see it kind of goes all over the increases and the decreases in fund balance. I mean, 2020, 21, 2022, 2023 in the general fund, every one of those years we used an amount to balance the budget.
Sure.
Yep, and look at, we ended up increasing the fund balance, so we never had to really rely on that. In the DA fund too, the decreases and the increases. This in 2023, we increased our fund balance by $37,000. That means we took in more than we spent, so that increased that fund balance. So I just wanted to put that down and separate that out for like a 10-year period for you guys to take a look back and see what the town has done. If you look at the tax cap, so from the time the tax cap, well, it's not, the tax cap started even before 2015, but if you look back to 2015, the amount that we went over the tax cap in the budget, if you totaled it all up in that 10 years, it's about $137,000, $131,000 more that we've levied than what the tax caps were, which, considering the times and considering some of the other things that maybe some other municipalities have had to do, it's pretty, I think that's really good. I mean, that's went over, and then all of the challenges that have been here. So just by the 131 and then keeping it under in a lot of years. So that's what we wanted to show with this. And you can see here, we figured out the amount we can raise taxes by. I don't mean to say those ugly words, you guys. No, we're not trying to use ugly words here, okay, about raising the taxes. But what we're allowed for an increase this year is $76,715. I've gone up to the state comptrollers and used their calculations and their formulas and have figured out what our tax cap is for this upcoming budget.
3.2%. So to be things to keep in mind, I heard at the I think it was part of the county briefing last week, and then we talked about it again this morning at the supervisor's monthly call, that the health insurance consortium is looking at a 14% increase.
Yeah.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing to take into consideration is that the living wage is rumored to be going from 1845 to 24 something, which would be like about 130 increase, 33%. Which is one hell of a jump in 1 year. Because it was a pretty good jump last year. I remember it was like 16 something, and went to 1845. So
Do we have the figures on what that would mean to us?
that's what I asked Laura to figure out, but we
Yes.
don't have it, not yet.
Okay.
Because in considering, we have to decide whether we want to remain a living wage employer. And if we do, what would it cost us in the budget? We don't have that many positions that are paid less than, but there are.
Right.
I'll go through and you were right, Joel. It is a sorry, Leslie.
Brittany had to withdraw. And
She
so
did?
But Kristen is coming.
Oh,
Okay, so that's,
I was wondering what was up
I
with.
know.
Brittany texted you or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she, yeah.
Yeah.
Emailed me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
It's okay.
So
Now, where was I going with that one?
And she'd be here soon.
Oh, okay.
I was saying, yes, I'll go ahead and I'll take all the salaries and I'll increase them by the 3%. You were right, Joel. I looked in the contract. It was
Yeah.
3%. We'll go increase them by 3%, see how many of them we have that would fall under that dollar amount per hour. And we'll come up with a total amount that would affect us by if you stay as a living wage employer.
Living wage will be around 24.
24 something, yeah.
This may be Kristen.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, Kristen.
In which case it, right? In which case it would be, it's going to affect people like,
Yeah.
McCarthy, who shovels the snow for us, and Zach.
And the people like Julia, and it'll
Yeah.
affect our deputy town clerk. It'll affect Mary Ann.
Yeah, there should be about 5 people.
Mhm. Yeah.
Where you going?
Yeah. So any questions on that? Because we could handle the budget transfers that are needed in order to balance the budget. You'll notice that we're over on some lines. A big impact was it didn't seem like it was all that wet a year, but it was hot and there was enough moisture to keep the grass growing, and we're spending a lot more on the grass growing this year.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but just before we get it, that living wage is $24.64. Sorry, I just wanted to put that out so you could write that down.
Yeah.
$24.64.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I didn't think it had been finalized yet, but that's the number that's being bandied about.
Okay, so do we want to
Pause?
pause or do we want
Why don't we?
to, okay.
I presume this is Kristen.
Hi.
I think it's Kristen.
Kristen, would you like to come up and have a chair so that you're within range of the microphone over here? Welcome, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, nice to meet you all as well.
So we have Paul Hanson, Leslie Connors, Catherine Hunter, Pat Woodworth, Joel Ganger.
Joel Anderson. I talked to you at Brian and Barbara's anniversary party. Brian Eaton.
Yes. So we have long looked forward to querying you. And Leslie got a list of questions that some of which have been, not all of which we need to ask, but would like to lead off.
Well, I could start.
Sure.
Welcome. Why are you interested in this
Well,
position?
yeah, well, for a few different reasons. One, I work for the county, for the Planning and Sustainability Department. And half of my job is supporting the tourism program with grants administration and communication stuff. And the other half is supporting advisory boards, one of which is the Environmental Management Council. And I, over the years that I've done it, like a recurrent theme has been, golly, we need to strengthen our ties with the municipalities. And I thought, well, this is one way, you know, I mean, I know we have a ton of Danby rep, we have Peter McDonald.
Yep.
But, this is another way that, we can help tie in and, you know, I've learned a lot about kind of county level planning, but I was interested in learning more about municipal stuff and how that works.
Do you have a personal interest in the sort of environmental?
I mean, yeah, no, definitely. In terms of, you know, land preservation and things like that. And, you know, I'm a mom to 2 young women, recent empty nester.
Oh,
You
yes,
know?
I wondered at what point you were saying your daughter.
Yeah. But, you know, thinking about for future generations. And so I'm interested in that, you know, definitely. So, and also sort of from the climate justice angle too, I would say, I'm interested as well.
And clearly you've got all kinds of background as far as, you know, taking minutes.
Right.
Yeah, no, definitely, you know, yeah.
Could you describe any kind of experience you've had, like taking minutes of a meeting or supporting a committee?
Yeah, I mean, some of the core functions of, you know, what I do is, not so much with the development, you know, normally we have like a planner who works with the chair of the board and they work together on the content for the agenda and all of that. But I help in terms of distributing materials to the board members. I attend the meetings and I do the minutes. We have like with the tourism board, I handle a lot of the grant review committee meetings, things like that. And in terms of doing, the minutes, I mean, that's like a big part of my position. Afterwards, you know, we always post things to the website. I'm also involved with the recruitment side of things, and coordinate with the legislature for getting, you know, I'm pretty sure I've probably emailed you asking for recommendations for people. So I'm involved with that piece as well. And do brainstorming in turn, like help with brainstorming in terms of like, you know, what, you know, who we're looking for, like what are some missing, you know, sometimes we'll look at the board and think like, well, what expertise or, you know, things like that.
Just so,
Yeah.
this may not be exactly, CAC is a committee of people, local people who deal with those issues, but you'll be taking the minutes, which is basically taken by a recording, correct? Is it a recording that we use?
Recorded.
Well, there is a recording of the meeting, but you know, it's kind of like what,
Secretary is there.
right. exactly.
Yeah.
Right, so they're not asking much input, they're asking more for professional, you know, take care of it, be nice, you know.
Yeah.
You live on Ellis Hollow Road though?
Yeah.
Nice place to live, beautiful, I have bike out there.
Yeah, you've probably seen it.
Probably do, yeah.
Questions
Yeah,
not
yeah.
on the list.
Yeah.
Also need to put her at ease, you know?
You live where?
Yeah.
No, that's funny. She graduated from Wells College.
Well,
Yeah.
That's not there
I have a
anymore.
more,
I know.
I have a more direct thing. We'll get you back off feeling like you have
Sure.
to be grilled about your personal life.
No,
But when
Yeah.
I, for one, I've taken minutes for a bunch of things. I do not like it. But you have said something about this, I think you said something about liking doing that and like you have a style that could evolve. Some people want really detailed parts of things in minutes and some people don't. And can you adapt to whatever and make suggestions about how the minutes maybe could be efficient for a committee in spite of how long-winded some people might be?
Yeah, I think.
How
it
they're
helps.
Nicely done.
Yeah. Well, and I think it helps that, because when I first started, like my background's in editing and and writing. And so I was, when I first started, was very tempted to want to tell the story and capture all of that. And then once I got working with government a bit more, it was more, I've learned through time about, just capturing highlights and actions taken and, and so we sometimes, I'll retain my longer notes for internal use. Then it also can be helpful for task management and remembering, who said they were gonna do what, that kind of thing and tracking. But it doesn't necessarily need to be part of the official minutes. But having said that, it was a little, I think I definitely could adapt as needed. But it was helpful to sort of have a top-down directive from someone of this is how we want our minutes to be, So we always manage, just sort of give ourselves parameters. It was 2 pages, that's it, no more than 2 pages. And I kind of work with that,
How many people are on the CAC?
9?
Well, it's up to 9 people, but we only have, I think, when we have 8 or 7 at the moment.
It could be 7. I don't know.
Yeah.
To think about that, who's on it. 8.
Yeah, it's right off the list.
And do you do your recruit, I think I looked and it said some people their terms are ending in December.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, CCCs, for what it's worth, they can only be 2-year terms.
2-year terms.
So half the group it doesn't necessarily turn over, but half the group is up for reconsideration every 2 years.
Every 2 years. And
Well,
are there,
half is up every year.
okay,
So, in other words, you're only appointed for 2 years.
yeah. And do the clerks handle the paperwork for all of that kind of? In terms of,
It's kind of a town clerk responsibility, and supervisor to manage the process for people re-upping and applying for the positions.
yeah.
It's helpful to have the
'Cause it was-
secretary keep track of who's.
Yeah.
What the status is, so that we don't say that who's up this
Right.
year.
And are there term limits or can people?
No.
No, okay.
You could be a lifer. yeah.
That can be a lifer.
And Some of us
It
have.
would be
been.
nice if that could be, if that could happen, and we'd have plenty of people who would still.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys aren't the only ones.
Right.
Yeah.
No, in fact, we have, like I say, we have a vacancy right now. That we could have up to 9, but we haven't had, people breaking down the doors trying to get on.
Right, yeah.
But it's good and important work.
Yeah, no, and I kind of sort of get the conservation easement stuff, but that was interesting to me, and I know I used to work with David West.
David, sure.
Yeah, so I remember back in the day when he was working on that, getting that going. So
What did he say about us?
all good things.
Okay, right answer. I know where he lives.
So how open are you to the possibility of doing more than just the minutes?
I'm open to it. I do have a full, full-time job.
Right.
But I was looking, I've been looking to, I've got 2 kids in college right now, and I was looking for some things on the side that, would be fun to take on. So I would be open to it. But I don't know, the hour. I think maybe the original job posting, or I remember seeing I saw some kind of announcement and it was saying 4 hours a month, but
You have to put something in, but-
Yeah, exactly.
But, depending on who's doing the minutes and how thorough they are, it can take more or less time.
Right. No, I would think that would be plenty for the minutes, but I meant in terms of doing other things, I'd be willing to help. I just don't know what's in the budget, from the town's point of view. But, things like website stuff, updates or communications, I'd be happy to help with that too.
So I'm actually taking one off the list. would you be able to set aside personal opinions and support the work of the CAC?
Yeah, no, I
I
would.
wonder who came up with that question.
They can be kind of rowdy bunch. What about, do you think you can be flexible in dealing with the evolving technical environment? Yeah, like learn, I mean, imagine
yeah.
it's like learning new skills.
Yeah, I would think so, but I did that one, I was sort of like, ask about that, because I wasn't quite sure what was meant by it, but
I think
mean-
it's because we're
I think I know who
transferring
I
from
know who
one
put that
um,
there.
platform to 365, and I think you
okay.
with the town, I mean,
The
with the
county,
city,
yeah,
the county things.
yeah.
You probably
Probably,
have a pretty good
probably using
idea.
Word in
Well, most of
365.
us
Yeah.
are struggling with that
So we're
stuff.
struggling, but, and then of
Okay.
course that has to do with some, where the documents are. But we
Right.
also have a temporary person right now helping us going through all the documents before they're placed in that being done by the town office.
Okay, yeah,
But but your preparation of documents in the style that would match, I'm sure you can.
yeah, I would think
it's-
so, definitely.
It would be, if you asked me if I could do that, I'd say, what? So you have
Yeah.
the experience that I
Well,
don't.
yeah, you got,
Yeah.
I mean, things keep changing. I
Yeah,
mean, I know on my own
Yeah.
personal computer, keep throwing another, oh, this is
Yeah.
new, do this.
Yeah,
one.
Right.
my computer just now said that.
That's a
update
trick,
there.
I'm not answering.
Mhm.
I'm not answering, that's a trick.
But yeah, no, we're the county, yeah, it's all.
You're totally used to it.
Yeah, we're using that, so.
Yeah, are you okay with coming to the meetings? And if that would be
Yeah, no,
it's
definitely,
also
I mean,
nice if you're in person.
next
If
one's
we're in
tomorrow, by the
person,
way.
you in person. If we Zoom,
the next one's tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
if it's bad weather and things like that, I mean,
Right.
other people don't, people Zoom.
Yeah,
Is their meeting always the second or third week in,
Well, unless there's somebody's gonna bump it, but normally it's the second Tuesday,
Second
second
Tuesday of the
Tuesday
month.
of the month.
and they do that every month,
right?
Yeah.
right? They never miss a month.
No, well, we did miss a month.
but it's not,
I get what
it's
happened.
not like BZA. BZA, or
Right.
if there's
It's
not an
called
item, then
for,
there's not a
right.
meeting.
Right, exactly.
We always have meetings.
Right.
Because there's always something, unless something.
Unless
Unless,
something-
Oh,
Yeah.
it's something,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Normally, it's every month.
okay.
Yeah, no, definitely, I mean, it's good if Zoom would be an option, but I'm also looking for reasons to get out of the house. So,
Well, having it here in person, it is helpful because
Yeah.
it's something, you can see people nodding and,
yeah,
You can't.
shaking their head.
Yeah,
Yes, right, that's it.
it's sometimes, it is sometimes hard to hear if you're not, it is really a problem. In the Zoom,
okay.
some of us can hear it, but you have no idea who else is sitting there if you can't see or
Right.
hear. So
Right.
have no fear of saying, I can't hear you, speak up.
Or
speak more
repeat.
clearly, repeat, right?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
that is really important, and you gotta be able to do it.
Okay, no,
I kind of get the impression you wouldn't be afraid to say,
no.
yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't get that from you sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Nope.
No,
Okay,
all
Pat,
right.
Hempstead,
No, great,
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice to meet you all, so, how much, do you care if I stay for a little bit, just to?
Oh, they get used to us, so that kind of.
I mean, are you?
Formal and
Would we
formality.
have to figure out if we're gonna decide on.
Oh, is it executive
But-
session? Oh,
no, it doesn't have to be, but, we want it to be.
It sure would be
yeah.
nice.
I'm sorry.
We might talk about you, yeah.
No, in that case, I'll change, but I didn't know, I was just curious about like regular board.
But you could,
business.
I mean, it's not too late. When is it on the agenda? Is it later?
It is.
Well, we can move
Yes,
it up.
Well,
But
we,
not much
or
more.
not, if Kristen wants to see what the town board meetings are like, then I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do, because you
Oh,
get a
that's great,
flavor.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
sounds great.
we're getting
It's
there.
a
Right,
Greg
right.
Tanner study.
Right.
That, do you know Greg? He's our planner.
Hey.
Hi.
Starting that,
Oh, great.
And we don't know who that guy
That's
is.
Zach,
We
man.
don't know.
He's- He comes every week and it's really is like, you can't tell.
These are,
Okay,
yeah,
so we were up to the transfer resolution.
You're supposed to at this point go like this. I love that.
I know,
I used to have the hair.
Yeah. So there were a couple of things that are drivers here for maybe you could speak, Laura. The two things that I'm aware of that that created problems in the budget was the mowing contract, which we're having, he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, he is.
But, you know, as needed is an interpretation kind of thing, and we're way over budget for the pond.
Yes, and for the cemeteries. We
And
went
for the
over budget
cemetery.
in the pond and in the cemeteries, and that's the main thing. Also, the fact that that certification now for a lifeguard is like $600, and we pay that for our lifeguards. You know, and just some few items like that. That's what's made us go over in the pond. So when I sent you guys out an email, you know, just explaining these things, I just put in both of those. That'll be something that we really need to look at pretty close when we're doing the budget for 2025 and seeing those additional or maybe deciding on how many mowings you really want. But as you said, Joel, you really can't tell. Depends on the weather and depends on what's going on and, you know, how sharp you want it to be all the time. So that's what's happened there. And then we have another in the unallocated insurance, and the insurance rates. The insurance rates went up. We are still waiting to hear back from them because they had some vehicles and things on there that we are waiting to get some refunds on. So they're working that up right now, but we put that on here that we better cover it, you know, out of another line item to be responsible to cover the line items. So
And this is an interesting item, it's called unallocated insurance.
Right.
It's basically all the insurance that isn't health insurance.
yes, that's what it is.
Insurance, the vehicle insurance, you know.
well, I mean, that's one of the things that might be nice if we had, if we could have breakdowns of some of those things, like how
Mhm.
much do they cost, how much
Wow.
what account
Yeah.
paid, or how much is left in the account that we, you know, things that,
Mhm.
for like when people ask us questions and we're like,
When we get into our budget part and we get to that part, we'll pull out some of those policies. They have the figures on them. So you know how much you're paying for property insurance, how much there is for the vehicle insurance, inland marine, how much we're paying for the board members to be insured. Some cyber coverage, the umbrella policy for a lot of the different things. So yeah, that's a great idea, Catherine. We could do a little session on that. So you know what's happening and what's going on. And also, Joel and I were talking about, let's go out and get some quotes. Other than just being with the Smith brothers and Nymer, through the Nymer system, that we'll go out and get some quotes independently from some insurance companies this year too. So that's something that I know Joel and I have been talking about, looking at it quite closely this year, changing things a little bit. Yeah, so that is that's one of them that needs to be increased. That went over budget. And also the town hall postage. There's that postage account. And what we did this year, now last year when the tax bills went out, the tax postage was purchased after January. Okay. So, but we just this last year, we developed a postage account, which is something that we really hadn't done before, or we had it before, we weren't really using it. So what I did this time is just put all of that postage for the taxes that Mariah has to buy for the taxes, and I put it in that postage account. So when she goes to buy the, her postage for the next tax bills, the next round of tax bills, it's really a purchase for 2025. Because it's for 2025 tax bills that we're doing
So
it, but we'll
definitely
take a
we have
look
to
at
get-
how, we'll take a look at how we want to do it. Because that would be doubling up our postage, and maybe not, I can still accrue that back to 2023. We'll see how we book it. But that's the reason why that postage line went over. So we were suggesting maybe 1,300, and that could fund that hopefully for the rest of the year, that line. So those were the 4 items: cemetery,
Yeah.
pond, unallocated insurance, and the postage line.
And I've been waiting for a period to say something like this. Jennings Pond, right?
Yeah.
So I have 2 grandsons who went down there to try to go swimming, and they wouldn't swim there because it's not being taken care of. And I think is it growth in the actual water? Does anybody have any idea about that? I mean, it's something if we're gonna continue to have a swimming area, that we need to maintain it. Because I think that's part of the reason why kids aren't down there using it, is that it's not a pleasant environment for that.
Talk about the, like duckweed or,
I think so, yeah.
didn't we used to pull it out, right?
I-
Isn't that something the
Do
lifeguard
you
was
handle
doing?
it, or you take a chain or something and pull it out?
I don't know how it was done, but it seems to me that was something that used to get
Perhaps we
done.
could get some help from the park.
From the park commission,
Yeah,
yeah.
New York State Parks.
yeah.
I don't expect, well, on the question that Ted raised earlier, that Mary Ann asked about what about these fallen trees, and Jim Brophy said, we'll take care of it. So they did respond to that.
Okay.
And they took trees down last year too, and we raised the question about there were dead trees that were
I mean, it's still,
leaning.
the
It's still
the
there.
space is
Yeah,
a state park.
yeah.
Right.
Well, it's
Oh,
part of the state park, but
Yeah, but
you
it
know,
was-
but they probably wouldn't choose to have a program there, except the fact that we asked them to, yeah.
Did you have something to say?
Yeah, is there, not a reason we could get people together
And actually do something about it?
to just do something like volunteer? And I know you can't use the mechanical means like machinery to do it, but it seems like some people could get together and
Do something
I
well.
mean, like you could go in there and like pull it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, use rakes or whatever, potato diggers.
But I mean, you'd think that they would, I mean, they have swimming holes at, other places. Do they not have these problems? I mean,
They're only at the bottom of the waterfalls, where I think where the water's going over rocks and
Yeah, they're moving
It's-
faster.
yeah.
The water's
they
moving
don't have a
faster.
walk, they don't have a
And it's
swimming thing
deeper.
anymore upper Potomac? No, they used to.
no, not up at Buttermilk, lower in Tremont.
Lower and lower.
Well, you probably want
lower
to find
tree.
out a little bit more about it, like, on your own, or, go out there and take a look yourselves to see what we're really dealing with.
Yeah,
And you want to go, Zach?
Okay.
No, I'll go ahead. Be cool. I'll give you a dark beer afterwards. I am always looking for an excuse.
I mean, we're
Well,
past,
Maybe if I bring.
I
we're past the,
have a whole 6-pack, six-pack.
we're past the season this year, but
Well, I mean, and there's the geese have been a problem historically.
Ah,
the
And there
geese.
are-
Jeez.
There are things that you can do to
discourage the use.
encourage the geese to go somewhere else. One of them is to not mow.
Yeah, but
Oh.
nobody wants to walk through tall grass because of ticks.
Well, things can be done about that. You can, there's
peppermint
spray that's
paper
okay, yeah.
rolls.
Isn't there clappers or something for them too? That, no,
We can't add noise.
not for the ticks. No.
The geese, right?
Well, so you'd have to be there, you'd be going through a lot of beer probably. You'd have to sit there all night long.
I know, I'm like,
But anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we're off topic.
We'll go out, we'll take a look and let you know.
Yeah, And I'd like to have Mary Ann weigh in on, how did it actually
Yeah.
go. But,
Mary Ann,
Get
Yeah.
Mary Ann to come with you.
Who's running the program, right?
Yeah.
are Mary Ann here or?
No.
No.
No, Mary Ann Kozak.
Good,
The
yeah,
our pond Marion.
okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier just a second.
Yeah.
We got a phone number for her
Yeah, she lives across the street, so,
from you.
no, from the
No,
pond,
from
from the beach,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
On the, on
On
property in
Pond
the
Road.
back,
on Pond Road.
on that, in that ranch house,
Not the first
No, no.
house.
across the street.
It's across the street.
Okay, I'll knock on the door.
Mm.
Not the big old house.
It's
No, no.
On the pond
On
road.
Pond Road.
One of those three houses on.
Once you
Pond
enter
Road,
that,
When you go.
It's not the
into
first
the
one.
park.
I think it's the
Not the
second
first
one.
one.
Is it the
I
second
think it's
one?
I think it's the second one, yeah.
I've
Okay.
been there, but I
I
don't.
can knock on the door and go, oops, sorry, not you.
You better call in advance to make sure she's there.
Okay,
Might as well go and take.
another phone, back to the phone number.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And what's your
Anyway.
name?
yeah.
Mary Ann.
So
I move we make these transfers to, the budget.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Any further discussion? Okay, Mariah?
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
yep.
Hunter,
yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will take
Um,
care of that, you guys, and then we'll have another account analysis, with the next abstract. So we'll stay on that, for each one.
Okay, good, thanks.
Thank you.
ARPA update, just to note where we are and pursuing the information we need to make decisions. Leslie and I were at the Water District Committee, Advisory Committee meeting last week, and it essentially came to light that no progress has been made in the last 2 months to identify somebody who can install those replacement fire hydrants. So, just as Fuji, it's hard to find somebody who wants to do a small job like 3 hydrants. And our go-to outfit, which is Mintier, who handles the water line breaks and repairs them for us, don't have any interest in doing that job. And finding somebody else to do it, turning out to be not so easy.
Just give them another month to,
Yeah,
I
right.
mean,
So anyway, that's something just to keep in mind. I mean, we might not be able to use the ARPA money for
Right.
that unless we can find somebody.
right.
On the getting information about what it would cost to own and operate the solar array, Jim Callahan has been working on that. It's been a rather frustrating experience for him trying to nail down what we've got, who's doing what. And since you're still here, Jim, if you can comment.
Or not.
Jim,
If he's still here, maybe
I'm
nominally.
there you are.
There you go.
Okay.
And I know there's, yeah, go ahead.
So I did get some information, but it just came in very slowly and still unclear of what's actually happening currently. As far as I know, Renovis has an agreement with the owners of the leasing company, and they come and they basically their agreement is to do any kind of fixes on it, but there's not a contract with them. To I got a rough ballpark estimate on doing maintenance. It's like from mowing to maintenance to upkeep to service to checking it once a year to monitoring. And they said it'd be between $10,000 to $15,000 per year to do that. So, which was a lot more than I expected.
Yeah.
Me too.
That
Were they
includes
pleased?
mowing.
Mowing.
I
Really?
don't think that's much mowing, but I was surprised at the cost.
So what did they replace? They're only coming once a year?
No, I'll read it to you 1 second.
Well, as needed, of course.
Yeah, they had a list of things that
Yeah.
are not just.
They're monitoring the array for output, so.
He's gonna read the list.
Yeah.
I find it. Go. Remote monitoring of the site through Solar Edge portal or equivalent, vegetation management, mowing and site access, annual visual mechanical inspection and remediation of any issues found, all warranty and non-warranty service, including handling of all RMA processes, annual performance reporting.
You know,
And we get do we have an annual performance report?
well, that it wouldn't be to us, it'd be to the, some investment.
Yeah.
We used to get copies of that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I doubt that that the owners are getting charged anywhere near what Jim was told is in the ballpark, because if they are, they're not making any money at all.
Right.
Because I mean, they're only we're paying them about what, $13,000 a year, something like that. Forget.
They said $10,000 to $15,000 per year.
Yeah, but I mean, we're paying them an average of $16,000 a year. And given the capital cost of the array, it's hard to believe that they could make any money. If it's going to cost you $10,000 or more just to have somebody maintain it for you.
Well, the other thing is when I was working here, I used to take the readings and,
Right.
We got a report of like how much we had each.
Right.
And we were doing fine. And the thing is that everything they said is someone walks out, they walk around, they look at the meters, they don't check, they don't pull out their little electrical equipment to check that the individual wires are working. And I know that on my own.
They would do a monitoring, and they would, they would see if there was some major change, and they would come out and do the maintenance. They would pick up anything from warranties and do the warranty servicing, or if warranty, whatever was covered under warranties as far as, replacing the panels if something went out, they would do those measures. So right now, I think what happens is they're on call. They're like a on-call contractor, and they probably bill the owners of the system right now. And the system does their own monitoring for their own purposes. I don't know who mows. Laura, who mows out there? Does the town?
I really don't know, Joel asked me that earlier. I don't believe the town mows that. We don't go out there from the highway department and mow that property. So it must be Sunvestment's doing it. Or whoever's maintaining it is doing that mowing.
Does anybody ever see them mowing?
I haven't paid attention, but I bet you Keith or Jack would be able to tell me. I'm not that observant when I'm coming past there to see what's going on, but they probably have seen it. We'll find out who's doing that mowing.
Huh.
I'm shocked.
It was between 10 and 15,000 for like a
I'm
maintenance.
not shocked about the mowing, I'm just shocked about the numbers.
Me too.
Just.
Yeah, really, because the energy production is 16,000, so.
Yeah, and the thing is, the monitoring, all that means is that it's running and up and running. And it's like, it doesn't take anything. It's saying that the dials are spinning and there isn't a dramatic drop in usage or in production.
Generation.
And that you could spot it if anybody goes out there and on a monthly basis and checks to make sure the numbers are.
They're doing it remotely.
And you can do it remotely.
Which
Yeah,
they are.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having that job.
It's a scam.
That kind of.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell them.
Yeah. So we'll do it for you Yeah. Anyway, it changes the economics rather dramatically.
Well, if it was that kind of money, yeah, that's maintenance costs.
Yeah.
But frankly, if you wanted to pay me $300 a month or to do it, yeah, I mean, to go out there and mow it, I feel like I would be
Overpaid.
absolutely overpaid. And I'll do the monitoring and then to see it for free. I used to do it and it was fun. I mean, just because I like to see it happen. Just,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just-
Yeah,
So more follow-up needed for that.
I think
Yeah.
this is probably a full service contract. I'm not sure if you can negotiate all these things down, like if you just, you'll take care of mowing, they'll, do certain things. It might be negotiable as far as what it covers.
Did
What
you say
happens-
some type of warranty?
Well, they do any kind of warranty service. It says all warranty and non-warranty service, including hand.
It's
So
any
if a
servicing it needs.
inverter goes out, they go out and they replace, they'll find out, they figure out that it's out because what they're monitoring shows there's some sort of change. So they would go out and they would replace something out there, replace, a panel that's faulty, or replace inverters, or if there's some sort of electrical problem.
Right.
But the
What
cost
about
of the cost of the inverter would be on us. They would just go and do the work.
Into what the warranty is on the inverter. The inverter's
Gotcha.
probably covered. I think they had a 15 to 25 year warranty on the inverters.
What happened to Teddy Ann? Mr. Teddy Ann, Dave Teddy Ann? Dave, did you talk to him at all?
Not since he said he couldn't do the initial analysis for us because the insurance didn't cover.
Okay. But he
I
would,
sent an email to the person who was going to do the analysis for us, to do an upkeep analysis and what the state of the system. But I didn't get this information until noon today, as in 5 other meetings. So I did get an email off to him, but he did not get back to me.
We also have our insurance broker and Smith Brothers checking on how much the insurance would be for that array per year out there.
Mhm.
He didn't know, but he was gonna go back and try to do some research to get a good rate.
Mhm. There's that. And then there was, you met with Jeff Rockwell. About that. How did that go?
fine, Jeff's quite competent.
Well, I
What
mean,
are you asking me?
well, the question is whether or not,
He hasn't gotten back with a bid yet, has he? I think he's dealing with you for that.
well, yeah, if he goes that way, does he feel that he has enough information in order to do a bid?
Sure, and he will explain what he's going to be doing, exactly. And I was actually thinking of how some things like the garden aspect or the railings and that kind of thing, how they might be done. And I was gonna bring that to you guys and show you what I'm thinking about. But, I mean, that's a negotiable, you can do less and, I mean, Dave, Rockwell is gonna bid the basics based on what those drawings were.
Mhm.
And he understood what we were talking about.
Yeah,
And if he misses a piece, then I'll say, well, what about this,
Yeah.
add the pieces in. Oh, and I was thinking that what I would do in terms of the aesthetics of that ramp piece is I'd go to you guys individually, kind of do a little survey of stylistically what you'd like to do or don't do.
think about the railing or,
Railings is the first thing I'm thinking about, and I was thinking about square stock, aluminum stock that you would mount it on. Otherwise you'll probably be putting in, trying to pull that stuff out, just like you had repaired it that one
Yeah.
time. And replacing it in kind, but it's not gonna fit with the new ramp configuration,
yeah,
because it's too steep or whatever.
right. So you talk about fabricating something or having it fabricated,
Right, so that's the next question.
yeah,
Step one is getting some basic numbers from
mhm.
Rockwell, and then we'll do the next step after that.
And what about, Zach, the automatic opener part? Did you do any,
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
yeah, you are,
Okay. I guess I'll just.
yeah. Maybe not, yeah, because that's part of the project that it's separately, you know, needs to be separately spec'd.
We can do it on the same day. I did actually talk to, not the old Freeman's place, to get a button, push button, automatic opener thing,
Yeah.
to find out how much that cost. And I didn't go back because I didn't know how, but I should, we can they probably have the number somewhere now. Peach, he thinks that's a good idea.
Right,
This month I'll get on things.
okay.
I s-
So if we could try to get some of that, so we can,
We need you to get it quick.
yes, exactly.
Well, is Jeff planning on doing it this year?
We need to.
Well,
we need to
if
get
he's
the
gonna
money.
do it at all, it doesn't have to
Right.
happen this year, but we have to be at a contract signing
Okay.
by the end of the year. I mean, if you could do it this year, that would be great, but,
Well, I just finished a long list and now I have a little time to
yeah,
devote to this.
Yeah.
okay. We're over time.
Over time.
I'm going to give us another 15 minutes.
Yeah, and we might not have to use them all.
No, that's right.
Okay, I second it then. Vote.
Okay, the vote.
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I didn't have anything else on our stuff there, just to, you know, where we are trying to get things nailed down. There's a bunch of stuff still need loose ends, but made it difficult to say we're going to definitely spend the money on this or that. The email policy revision proposal. Did you have a chance to look at it, Liz, since I missed it?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did,
I could look at it another 4 times.
yeah, I know. Does it look okay to you? Or?
I mean, it looks okay. I mean, the only question I had about it, because it's email policies and procedures, not just town email. I mean, I'm left with wondering if we need to have something that if somebody on a committee doesn't have town email and they're using their personal email, that we used to do that, include like the chair of the committee in on any
Yeah.
business type
So
email they have.
I wrote something into that effect.
Where?
I don't know where it is, because I didn't print it out, but what it says is that anybody not using a town email,
Find it if you
if I
want.
can find it right now. Well, but what it basically says is anybody not using a town email who is using a personal email for a town business should include in any messages sent somebody who does have a town email.
Oh, okay, where's that?
Email somewhere.
I don't know if it's there, I can find that. That would work.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
No, either the
Yeah.
chair or the town
Somebody,
clerk
yeah.
or somebody, some other
Actually, I
member.
think we were using the town clerk.
Well, it could be,
time.
it could be, but.
No, at the time, that's
Yeah,
what I mean.
right. And I don't know why I didn't think of it, but I did. But
Is the point to get their communication on the town
Yeah.
website?
No, just
No, not on the
in a
website.
record, in somebody's record.
right, the point is to capture, well, 2 things we did, you know, there was a bunch of stuff in there about retention policy. And the reality is that we're not culling our emails, we're just storing them as they are, because we don't have time to go through and say, well, this isn't important, let's get rid of it, you know, it's not like paper records, we're taking up space and you need to free up the space. You know,
Oh, it's right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Where?
So we got rid of that.
In 1.1, it's in that paragraph, starts with town mail users.
Yeah. Okay.
I see, yes.
It says that anyone conducting
Town-
business
okay.
by email on behalf of the town not using.
Oh, okay, all right,
Include them
all right.
on the recipients, someone
Gotcha.
with the town
there
email
it is, never
address.
mind.
That covers it.
So how does that cover it? I I mean, if you're sending an email, if I'm sending it on my private email and I'm sending it,
You're not gonna,
Pat.
you've got a town email.
I got you that, I got
No, no,
you.
but supposing he doesn't have a town email.
Yeah, suppose I don't, my private email is still my private email.
That's correct.
And just because she's getting it, she's still getting it on her private email.
No.
Well, no, like I say,
Oh, it has
if you send
has
a
to be
message,
Sent to the town email.
A town email.
Yes.
Yes. you have, I mean, somebody on, if you send a message out in this town business, somebody in the recipient list has to have a town email.
Yeah.
So either you're sending it to somebody who has one, you're part of a group where somebody, some of them, somebody does, and so they'll, be captured that way. Or you have to CC somebody like the
Right.
town clerk.
Well, it has to be on the town email. That one,
Yes.
one of the people you're sending it to has to be on
Exactly,
the town email.
right, right.
Correct.
Yeah, that covers that. That's there.
Yeah.
Next question.
Okay.
There was that
What
one
if
thing that I
someone sends a bribe to an official using
No.
personal email, not captured?
If they're sending it to somebody, then it would be captured.
Yeah.
Not if it's going to a personal email.
Right.
Well,
that's the
well,
point we
well, I
just
mean, yeah,
made.
well,
We just covered
That's the
that.
point we just made, Ted, is that they're sending it to the email of someone who has it, using
I
the town
sent-
email.
I send
That
you
is how we're
a
doing it.
personal email. It doesn't get captured, period.
no, this is true. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, we send personal, you can send a personal email to whomever you wish. We have no way of knowing which of your personal emails are town business related. The policy is that if you send an email to someone and it's town business material, you shall include somebody with a town email so that we capture it for the record.
Then it becomes captured.
We can't police, private behavior. If somebody wants to talk about town business and not, get it recorded, then they are somewhat at risk. If somebody actually wants to, chase the information, say, well, how come, I heard that you communicated about this, but that's not, I don't see it anywhere in the records. It's like, well, okay, see if you can get a court to get you to look for it. But that's the best we can do is to say,
Right.
we're trying to capture it for the record. And, if you're doing business for the town, either do it using a town email
Right.
or
Okay.
include somebody who does have a town
Right.
email.
I move we approve the revised email policy.
The
I
other
second
thing.
this.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Okay, so now we talk about it.
yeah, now.
There
we're
was
talking
also
about training.
use of email agreement that,
You're right, they were supposed to generate so that the clerk can say,
so that everybody,
if you're gonna have a town email here, you're
I
agreeing
mean,
to
we
do
could
it this
wait and do
way.
this next meeting.
Yeah,
It was sort of piggyback on this.
I stand down.
mhm.
So we can, people have read this and agree with it. We could pass this and then go to the agreement thing next meeting.
Yeah, there's still a question in my mind about what about people who are going to be doing town business, don't want a town email account, whether they should have sign some sort of statement saying, they understand that this is how they're supposed to do it.
That's just as good as any other thing. It's only if it's for the honest person.
Yeah, no, but well, I mean, yeah,
I mean, we
I'm gonna-
can have people.
yeah, but I mean, just so
it can
they
be
know.
On this, it
Yeah.
can be in the agreement
Yes.
and everybody's.
Well, yes, but
signs it.
that's what I'm saying is that the
Right.
agreement probably should apply to not only
Need to
those that
make
have
sure-
town
yes,
emails,
Right,
but anybody who's gonna be doing emails,
right.
doing town business. Agree that if they insist on using their private email, then they'll do it this way.
Right.
And if they do, great. and
So
if
where
they don't,
are you
great.
gonna keep these signed?
I don't know, that's up to our record management official.
Uh,
So we're gonna have like
I think
15 or
that,
25 of
well,
these.
I mean, are there folders and does clerk? Maybe the clerk keeps. those
Maybe it
things
could
like
be.
that.
I think the clerk would keep them.
I think it maybe could be done with an e-signature, which would be, then it would be capturable. We wouldn't have to have papers.
Well, we could sign a paper and scan it in. It's not
Yeah.
bad,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
an e-signature might be even
Add
easier.
private email. Okay,
maybe, if Mariah can do that kind of
Okay.
techie stuff.
so
Moving along.
are we gonna,
To teach it.
do people wanna,
So what you want, so is everybody okay with passing it the way it is? Or did you want to, your suggestion was it'd be good to have, to give it a thorough.
No, I mean, I
looks.
think it's all right the way it is, and we review it every January,
Oh, sure.
and,
That's right, but
you
that
know,
work,
if
we've got
something
some-
comes up,
yeah.
we can add it, and, but then I wanna, next month,
Come up with a,
come up with the agreement. that
Agreement.
People sign,
okay.
all right,
Mariah, is that, you think that's something we can work up in the next?
it's, I mean, it's, there's
Oh,
already. a
yeah.
draft.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have a draft.
Yeah,
Okay,
Um,
great.
so we can play with that,
Okay.
yeah.
So any
There's
further
no-
discussion of the motion, which is to approve the policy as amended?
What's that?
Is there any further discussion of the motion? Okay, then we're ready for a vote.
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson, Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
So are we ready to appoint the one?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's the next thing, right?
yeah,
So I gather that Brittany withdrew?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was worried she wouldn't have enough time.
Mm.
She sent me an email this afternoon.
Yeah.
Which is why I didn't have it.
Well, it kind of makes the choice easy, doesn't it?
Hmm?
Kind of makes the choice easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like Kristen.
Yeah, she seems.
Yeah, she's just like,
I
it'd
really,
be fine.
yeah.
Well, we'll never see her.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's in the CAC meetings.
Oh, go to the CAC meetings.
Oh, just to see her.
Yeah.
Okay, you go.
Yeah.
I think
Some of us,
we need to get you in a poll.
some of us are regulars of those meetings.
I was surprised that no CAC people, well, except for a couple were here.
That's true.
Because some of them expressed interest in coming and I sent everybody
Yeah.
notes.
Noticed
but,
that we were going to be doing it.
Yeah.
We don't have any recalcitrants up there
No.
in that group, do we?
But I move that we appoint Kristen McCarthy to the secretary of the CAC.
I'll second that.
Can we vote? Or we
Sure.
let them do it? There's no three of them.
Yeah, well, I know, but
We're allowed
why
to.
should we not? You know, it's in our interest to have weigh in on who the secretary is going to be. It's not because any
Got
conflict.
seconded, I think,
You're gonna catch it.
somebody seconded, who did?
I did.
Wait, who moved it?
Me.
Leslie moved it.
Oh, okay,
I seconded it.
alrighty,
Any discussion further? No? Okay, the vote.
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yep.
Hunter,
yes.
Woodworth,
yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
I believe that's the end of our business, is it not?
Except for unneeded item.
No,
We
we
took
took that
it
off.
off because we don't have any
We
work
took
out.
that off. 'cause
Sweet, oh, sweet.
Laura and I did-
So we're good. So
Okay.
with, in light of that, meeting adjourned.
Wait, discussion and next meeting agenda.
Oh, yes. You want to
I would like.
do
to
that,
see-
I think,
yes.
Email
I
agreement.
don't know.
besides what we've already
So
done.
the email agreements, okay.
That's on.
And the other is I would like us to actually not just talk about, but actually ask Greg to get a committee so that we can actually do some of these zoning changes. We keep saying things
Oh, okay.
and we don't,
Oh, we
I'd be
can
happy to put that
swap
on.
people.
yeah.
Or something.
But we empower them and like get us moving on it.
Which,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's great.
Okay,
Or have a plan.
Yeah, right. Anything else?
5-year plan.
Anything else? Other than the ones we talked about?
Right.
I could have company in my driveway right now. I don't know.
Yeah. And we will be, of course, getting into the budget. So,
Is it a big event?
And we've got,
It has an RV.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
The
wow.
Event cop out there.
yeah, how many
They-
people in that RV?
yeah.
That's right.
So
Is there a
now we
Is there
adjourn the
a
meeting.
porta potty?
Adjourned, right. They have theirs.
Thank you, everyone.
So,
Leslie, I like that policy. It's all short and right straight to the point.
Which one?
Generic, the one about the disposition of the articles.
Okay, you like the draft? Well,
Oh,
We can, okay.
it's
Well,
generic,
we'll
but
talk about
put,
it and bring it up next meeting.
Okay,
sure.
Okay, put that in there.
good.